okay? And I wanted to talk to y'all, especially people that are struggling with credit, trying to build their credit and stuff. I have some credit cards I wanted to give you all, but I wanted to share something else with you because I know a lot of you guys are wondering about the fires and stuff like that. And so where I am, I'm like maybe about an hour 20 minutes away from the fires. So the thing about it is there's something else that's going on that the media isn't talking about. And you know what that is? It's Border Patrol. That's right. Border Patrol is starting to check for immigration papers and stuff. All right. And here's the thing about it. With Border Patrol, technically, to my understanding, they cannot come no more than 60 miles inland, right? And so they're starting to pop up all over Los Angeles, okay? And so this is making people scared. And by making people scared, you got attorneys and stuff now that are telling people, hey, if you don't have to go outside or have to travel, do not travel, because they're harassing you. And so now that's the bigger thing that, like I said, the media isn't talking about that, and they're telling people to do more Uber, Lyft. If you're needing transportation to do Uber or Lyft or whatever, and DoorDash, like DoorDash, Instacart, things of that nature, anything that's going to keep you out of sight to keep you from feeling like you're going to be harassed because of your status, right? Now, to my understanding from an attorney, if you've been here for at least 2 years, then you should be okay. But now parents they're starting to have their kids to take a picture with their social security cards, with their birth certificates, all of these things. Now, most people think that they're just targeting Mexicans, but that's not true. So they're going to start going into Asian establishments. They're going to start going into Iranian establishments. So trust me, they're really finna start making it very scary and challenging for a lot of these families, and I want to know what do you guys think about that while I share some of this information about credit cards and stuff like that, because what they did during the election or whatever, like I said, a lot of these people unfortunately they assumed they was voting against black people, and I'll just say how I feel, and I'm not racist, but I'm just saying that these other nationalities, they figure that if they vote with white America, then white America will bypass them and would not look at them the same way that they look at black people. And so, like I said, that's just my opinion. I'm not trying to offend somebody, but hey, when you've been on this planet for 50 years and you coming from a racist town, it's a lot of things that you've seen that you notice. I'm from down in the bottoms of Arkansas, so where my friends have been killed by KKK. So it's a lot of things that I understand about racism and stuff like that. But like I said, they played a hand and it backfired on them, Now, that being said, it started to make it more challenging for us as blacks to get qualified jobs and stuff. They got rid of the affirmative action. So there's a lot of things that they did against us, trying to hurt us, and, I don't hold grudges or whatever. Hey, I guess you're trying to preserve your own, but now you really got to preserve your own. But that being said, like I said, for those of you, I hope you're not offended, but I'm just speaking my mind. I think I do deserve to have an opinion. But that being said, for those of you that are struggling to rebuild your credit, you know, and you are trying to find unsecured credit cards and stuff like that, like I said, if you're working a job, then you would have to target like some of the lowest hanging fruit to get credit cards and stuff that are unsecured. You know, that's the reason I tell people like credit.ai, right? So with credit.ai, what they do, they make sure that you have deposits going on in your bank account. Then they give you a line of credit up to $1,500, and it reports to Experian and Equifax, right? So you have to excuse, you know, it's windy out here. So I bring this a little closer, but at the same time, you have Patel Rise. This is another one. You know, if you have real bad credit, they will still give you an unsecured credit card because they have 3 different types of credit card. They have the Patel Rise, the Patel 1, and the Patel 2. But when you are right around a 500 or so, they offer you the Rise credit, and it's unsecured. It starts at about 300 and goes up to 3,500. All right, so that's the credit card you want to go for, and there's no hard pull on your credit. Then you have the extra debit card. You have to download the app for that, and this is something that a lot of people miss out on for us helping them build their credit, because a lot of people, they won't download the app, they won't utilize the app. But the thing about it, it reports to 2 of the credit bureaus, so it still helps you rebuild your credit. You know, especially if you're using your debit card a lot, then you definitely want to use this. If you're using your debit card to pay like your rent, your utilities, things of that nature, then this is a card that you definitely want to use. All right. Then your next card, and the thing about it with this next card is iffy because it does charge a lot of the fees, and that's the Fit credit card, right? And that's one of those credit cards you have to pay to activate it, but it gives you an unsecured limit starting at $300. So the Fit credit card is one that you can take a look at. Then you also have the Reflex credit card. So with the Reflex credit card, it's another one, but the fees on the Reflex credit card are not as high as the fees on the Fit credit card. Hey, let me know in the comments which one of these cards have you used to start building up your credit. You know, you do have some credit cards for bad credit, but it's a like invitation. All right, so I made a video about this MasterCard called SEEN, S-E-E-N, right? And it's by invitation, but it's an unsecured credit card, but it's for people with bad credit. All right, so some of you all may have received a piece of mail and just tossed it out or whatever, but if you have bad credit, they're targeting those people to try to get them an unsecured credit line. All right, so that's another card. Another card by invitation is the Brightway card. The Brightway card is the one from One Main. All right, and so if you had a account with One Main in the past and you're trying to build up your credit, then that's invitation card as well. All right, but it's unsecured and it's focused on people with bad credit. You know, thankfully, I would tell you this, thankfully, like where I'm at, we have heavy winds where I'm at. So like a lot of trucks and stuff on the freeway got blown over and stuff, you know, but thankfully, like the smoke hasn't came this way, this far out for us from LA to where I'm at in the mountains. So thankful for that. I feel sorry for a lot of the people that have to go through that, because that can be nerve-wracking, especially when you have kids. A lot of people that in the area, they may already be displaced. A lot of people, they were staying in apartments and stuff like that, you know, so they probably just barely hanging on to what they already had. And I'm sorry to see that they experienced that, Now, do we go through the fire season? Absolutely. So, one fire we had a couple years ago, we had to evacuate or whatever. You know, thankfully, it did not reach us, but we definitely had to get out of the way. But the thing about it is, because with California now being in a drought, you know, look how, you'll see what I mean. Look how dry this stuff is. It's like real dry. You know, like even here. You see how dry this tree is? Look at how dry this tree is. The leaves and stuff. Because there's no like rain and stuff like that. Now the interesting thing about it, like over here in the mountains, the sun won't blind you, but over behind the sun is the mountains. Now it's snow up there. So there is snow up in those mountains. But it's dry in these here mountains. And this is a ski resort up here that burnt up. So there was a ski resort over here that burnt up. And then over here is ski resort over as well. This is over in Big Bear. In between different ski resorts and stuff like that. Then you have these mountains here that are dry as well. So, like I said, we're just not getting any rain. Thankfully, you know, I'm very grateful. I shouldn't say thankful. I'm thankful as well as grateful that we are not in the midst of those fires. And I pray that we or anyone else around doesn't have to experience that, because it's scary. You know, you done invested, you done worked hard, and you done invested all of this money and time into, you done invested all of this money and time into your home. You done bought all these wonderful items and stuff, your clothing.